Welcome to month 2 of the transformation series, Guilt and Self-Sabotage. And the first thing I want to start off by saying here is that when talking about guilt, what I'm referring to is the state, not the emotion. Okay, the emotion of guilt, feeling guilty, is good and necessary. It's what sends you data that lets you know that, hey, you fucked up. You know, you've done something that is out of alignment. You've done something that is out of integrity. You've done something that you don't want to repeat again. The emotion of guilt signals you, hey, no. And without it, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know that you fucked up. Okay, the emotion of guilt is good. It's valuable. Fall in love with it. The state of guilt, however, is different, and this is what you need to let go of. And this is what I'm going to be talking about here. Okay, and the big difference is when the emotion of guilt kicks in, it sends you that data that you fucked up. You receive the data, you acknowledge it, you learn from it. If there's anything you can do, if there's any action you can take, you take that action, and from there, you move on. Okay, the emotion of guilt is temporary. The state of guilt, however, is ongoing. And that's where you receive the data, and instead of acknowledging it, doing what you can and moving on, you hang on to it. And you become a prisoner of guilt. You keep obsessing over what you did, didn't do, should have done, shouldn't have done. The self-attack kicks in, the self-abuse kicks in, and that runs you. You know, and you just stay in this state of just dwelling on it, thinking about it, regretting it, and just feeling guilty 24/7. Okay, and the way that this translates in the outside world is you start self-sabotaging. Why? Because you don't think you deserve to succeed because you're guilty. That is the state of guilt. And the first thing I want you to realize here is that feeling guilty on an ongoing basis, being in this state, doesn't serve any kind of usefulness. It doesn't really do anything. There is no purpose. You know, we think that we need to stay in this state of feeling guilty, but what does it really do? As I just mentioned, it causes you to self-sabotage, and you just stay stuck. That's all that it does. If you really wanted to, let's just say, repent for what you did, you would not self-sabotage, and you would go out and have, let's just say, a more beneficial impact, you know, a more positive impact on the world. You'd move forward and do great things. But instead, you just stay there in this state wallowing, feeling sad and sorry for yourself, just stuck in self-pity. It doesn't do anything. That's just you remaining stuck. Okay, let that sink in. The reason, though, it's so easy to get hooked on it, is that it makes us feel good. Okay, and this goes back to the way that we're conditioned, where we're conditioned to, you know, being good all the time. You must always be good, you know, be acceptable. And by us feeling guilty, this is our way of punishing ourselves and remaining good. Okay, you're getting the justice you deserve. You're paying for what you did. If you didn't feel guilty, you would be a bad person. You would not be seeing justice. That's why we hang on to it. There's always a certain attachment and a certain resistance to something. The attachment is, I'm a good person if I feel guilty. I deserve to feel guilty. I deserve to pay for what I've done. And secretly, you love it. Okay, and you have to be real and honest with yourself here. You may think, you know what, I want to let go of guilt. I'm so excited for month 2. I got to let go of guilt. You fucking love guilt. There's part of you, okay, a part deep in your subconscious, most likely, that loves guilt, that needs guilt. Okay, that's why you hang on to it. The same with self-sabotage, by the way. You know, it's always like, why do I keep self-sabotaging? In a way, none of us really self-sabotage. You know, there's that part of you that keeps fucking you over. It's doing it for a reason. It's not trying to purposely fuck you over. Consciously, you think it is. Subconsciously, it needs to fuck you over for you to be a good person and for you to see justice and pay for what you did. That's the attachment. And the fear is, if I let go of guilt, I'm a bad person. Okay, you need to let go of this. And in terms of how to let go of this, the first step is really to kill the momentum behind it. Because if you're in a state of guilt right now, and you hear me say, hey, you gotta let go of this state of guilt. This is bad. It's very easy to feel guilty about feeling guilty. And then you feel guilty about feeling guilty about feeling guilty, and it just keeps on going. Okay, so kill the momentum by being okay right now with feeling guilty. It's okay if you're in this state of guilt, acknowledge it. Okay, and then from there, make a firm commitment and decision to, be willing to forgive yourself and let go of it. You have to commit to this. You have to be willing, because it's very addictive, this state of guilt. This self-pity, you feeling sorry for yourself, feeling guilty. It doesn't sound good, but it's very addictive. It's very easy to just get caught into it. And you have to commit. Enough is enough. Okay, and one thing too that I just want to mention here is that when I say forgive yourself and let go of guilt, this does not mean that what you did or didn't do is okay and acceptable and you should keep doing it again. Okay, no, if you got the emotion of guilt, it's telling you you fucked up, you should not do that again. Okay, there's a difference between self-acceptance and approving of something. It doesn't make it right, it doesn't make it okay, but what it does is it lets you move forward with your life. From there, you need to identify precisely what it is that's fueling your guilt. What do you regret? Why do you feel guilty? And you may know. Right now when I say that, you may have your list, or you may think you know. You have a list of things, but it's not really that. Or you may think right now that you're not guilty. You might be watching this and being like, oh man, I feel sorry for those people who are in this state of guilt. However, if self-sabotage is present in your life, most likely there is guilt. And you need to sit down, be honest with yourself here, and identify it. Okay, stop being blind to it, stop living in denial, which is unfortunately what most people do. And to help you with this, I've added a meditative exercise as the transformational infield video. If you scroll down month 2, all the way down to the transformational infield video, there's an exercise where it gets a little dark, but it really helps you identify what is authentic to you, where you're going to lie down and basically picture yourself dying and being dead, and then reflecting back on your life from that perspective there, where there's no longer any need to get somewhere and run away from something. You're dead, it's over. What are your regrets from that perspective? And then see what comes up, and most likely you will be surprised. And you'll be like, oh shit, I didn't realize that I still think of this. I still regret that. That is still running me. I still feel guilty about this. Beyond that, some other things you can do is mentally going back in time and replaying the situation. This can help tremendously. If there's something you regret, mentally go back in time, replay it, and replay it in terms of what you would do differently now. Okay, with what you know now, with your perspective here, now that you saw the outcome of what happened in terms of what you did or didn't do, what would be different? And replay it. Whatever it is. There was a client, for example, who was talking about how he felt extremely guilty that he lied to his parents about quitting college and he didn't tell them. He went to college to please them. He realized, hey, this is not for me. He quit college and he kept lying to them like, hey, I'm still in college. And that just ate him up inside. Okay, and then eventually he told them, but moving forward, he realized he kept self-sabotaging and he kept beating himself up for that. Okay, and going back in time and replaying it, like, hey, what would you do differently? Tell them. Helps tremendously, and it helps reinforce that you learn from it. You don't need to keep punishing yourself. You realize that what you did is not what you wanted to do, and you would have done things differently. Be realistic about your past and realize that you did the best you could at the time. Okay, a mistake is something you wish you would have done differently upon reflection. And the upon reflection is key. Okay, there's this saying that goes along the lines of hindsight's 20/20. We always know what the right thing to do was upon reflection. We don't know that we're making a mistake when we're doing it. It's only when we look back at the situation and realize that, hey, there were different options that we didn't know were there. We didn't have access to them at the time. After the fact, it's easy to see that, but never during. And during, none of us purposely choose to make a mistake. It's not like you're there and you're like, you know what? I'm going to purposely make a mistake that I'm going to regret. We never do that. We are all trying to do whatever we think is best at the time. And then we get more information later on and we're like, shit, why didn't I do that? But you didn't have that information then. And you have to be realistic here. It's very easy to be like, fuck, why did I do that? Why did I do that? You did the best you could. You would have not have done anything differently. If you go back right now to whatever mistake is running you, whatever you regret, whatever you feel guilty about, and if you went back to that same you, with that same perspective, the same information, the same headspace, you would have done the exact same fucking thing. Don't kid yourself. I would have done things differently. Why? You didn't know what you know now. Okay, and you have to accept that. And accept too that, mistakes, misunderstandings, all of that's going to happen in life, whether you like it or not, and you must recognize the value in it. It's by making mistakes that you learn. It's impossible to live a life without mistakes. You can't grow, you can't expand without mistakes. It's by knowing, oh shit, this is what I don't want to be doing, this is what's out of integrity, that you know what is in integrity. Okay, you must fall in love with mistakes, and as I mentioned before, no amount of guilt will change the mistake. You feeling all guilty is not going to help, and mistakes will never decrease your self-worth. We're conditioned to be so attached with how well we do, how good of a person I am is how well I do. Let go of that. Let go of perfectionism as well. Okay, this is key. Cut yourself some fucking slack. We make so many internal rules for ourselves, and a lot of guilt is because we don't live up to all of them. We're not perfect, and then you feel guilty. A lot of guilt has nothing to do with reality. It's just you having all these rules. I must do this. I must always be like this. And as soon as you don't, you start beating yourself up, and then you feel guilty. You feel guilty for not being good enough. And this is also, due to the fact that with mainstream and social media today, we're conditioned to believe that everyone else, it's not really who they are in their entirety. It's just a part of them. And when you see that, and usually what people put online is the best side of themselves, you compare what you know is the worst side of yourself with the best side of themselves. And you'll never win. You'll always feel guilty if that's your standard. We set these unrealistic standards. Must be like that. We buy into it and then we feel guilty. Okay, so realize that no one is perfect. Okay, in that sense there. We all are perfect, but none of us are perfect where we limit ourselves to become this definition of what we believe perfect is. Okay, and that's not the goal. Let go of that. Be you fully, and come back down to reality. Everyone is, fucked up, and that's good, that's normal, that's natural. They just don't show it online. Or even in person. We all have this front. It must be our best self. Look behind the scenes. And the more you see behind the scenes, you can either be disillusioned and sad or upset, or, this is reality. They're like me. Okay, we're all cut from the same fucking cloth. And another thing here is forgiving others. If you have a lot of trouble forgiving yourself and you feel extremely guilty, most likely you also have a lot of trouble forgiving others. Okay, and by you forgiving others, it will help forgive yourself. And seek first to understand before to be understood. This is something Stephen Covey is known for and talks about a lot. It's like, hey, put yourself in their shoes. And what you realize is that whatever someone did to you or didn't do to you, they were doing the best they could. Everyone is just trying to cope. It has nothing to do really with you. A lot of arguments are simply because the other person got triggered or you got triggered, and then you just lash out. They're not purposely trying to be mean to you. They're just dealing with shit that's inside of them. And then of course there are different ways of coping, some that are not necessarily good, but they're coping. We all have shit inside of us. We're all doing the best we can, and when you see that, it doesn't mean that what they did is okay. It doesn't mean you have to approve of it, of course, but understanding that and seeing it from their perspective will help you forgive them. For me, even going through that media scandal as an example, it's very easy to believe that I held a lot of grudges, like, well, fuck that person who says that, or fuck all these people who, dislike me. But no, I saw where they were coming from. You know, if I put myself in their shoes and I read what was being written about me online, from their perspective, I would have done the same thing and would have hated me too. You know, so develop a little bit more empathy, put yourself in their shoes, and that helps tremendously. You know, the same for me is like how the media works. I'm like, why is this happening? And then I find out, oh, this is how it works. Okay, doesn't make it right, doesn't mean I approve of it, but understanding it helps forgive. Okay, helps let go of those grudges, and you have to do it. You know, you holding a grudge doesn't accomplish anything. You know, realize that peace is better. And lastly, what I thought I'd conclude with here is some footage of a talk that I had with a client about guilt and self-sabotage, where he would keep self-sabotaging relationships or different interactions. He would not jump at different opportunities that were presented to him. And as you'll see in this talk, the deeper we go, it all comes back to guilt. If you were a girl, would you be happy to be with you?
No, and that's fucked with me too, because my girlfriend just is happy with me and I still don't can accept it.
Okay, why not? Why would you not be happy? Say you were a girl and you were dating you. Why would you not be happy? What would be missing? What would make you miserable?
Feel the...
Verbalize it. It popped in. You're dating you.
I feel lazy. I feel I don't stick up for myself. I feel like I don't follow through. And I feel like that I won't be seen or heard, that my opinion won't matter so much. I think other people, it's more important for them to get the value out than me.
Okay. What do you like about yourself? What is the couple or few things that, say, someone dating you would get out of it? Say you're dating you. There's all that downside. What's the plus side? So the first thing I ask him to do here is to bring some awareness to what it is he feels guilty about. Okay, as I mentioned, it's very easy to live in denial. It's like, oh, there's nothing I'm guilty about. And what I ask him is, hey, why would you get out? That's one side. Okay, you can't live in denial. Be aware of what it is. From there, let's make a list of some of the things you like about you. Okay, and this is something that I recommend you do as well. Make a list of all of the good things about you. You know, guilt gets us so fixated on this shit that we really don't like about ourselves. It's like, oh, what about this? Why did I do this? I'm such a fuck up. You know, I don't deserve this. Okay, maybe there's that, but in what ways are you not a fuck up? You know? Yeah, you know, she deserves to be with someone else better than me. Okay, maybe, but what are some of the good things that she gets out of it? Make a list, okay? What value are you bringing to the table? And this will help tremendously too in terms of self-sabotage. This is something that I learned when it comes to sales, where, I mean, for years now I've been traveling, you know, where I talk about the paid events. I'm like, hey, if you enjoyed this, come to the paid event in a couple days. And when I first started touring and doing these upsells, I was had trouble selling people at the end. I always felt guilty about selling people on the paid event at the end. You know, the free events during the whole, 2-3 hours of just offering value was easy. It's like, here's some content, here's some value. It's very easy to just give. But then at the end, I'm like, okay, well, it's now time to make the sale. Oh my God, they're gonna know that I'm trying to sell them on the program. Oh my God. I would rush through it. You would just sense a shift in the vibe. I just felt very guilty about it. And in sales, what they make you do is sit down and make a list of all of the benefits that, say, someone would get from coming to the paid event. List it out. What do they get out of it? They'll get this out of it, this out of it, this out of it, this out of it, this out of it. And what I did for a period of time is every time I went on stage, before going on stage, I'd read that fucking list and I would remind myself of that list. Now, you know that person, this is from a sales perspective, you know that they will get all these benefits out of it. They don't know that. And it's your job, it's your responsibility to lead them to the paid event so they get the benefits out of it and thank you later. And that's a very different, way of going about things. And the vibe changed and it was absolutely amazing. It's reminding yourself, hey, it's not just feeling guilty because you're asking for money. It's look at what they're getting out of this. If you're in a relationship, for example, you're like, oh man, I feel so guilty, you know, there's all these horrible things I don't deserve to be with her. Okay, but what are the benefits she's getting out of it? And that's what I can do here. Bring some awareness to the benefits. Right now, make a list of all the benefits someone would get by being with you. Then the longer the list, the better, and remind yourself of that list. Okay, it doesn't get to the cause, but it's a good stepping stone, and this will drastically decrease self-sabotage.
That can actually be spontaneous and randomness.
Like what? Give an example.
Like I gladly do stuff. Like I don't like to sit at home. I gladly
I thought you said you were lazy.
I feel at home I'm lazy because that's what I've been told all my life. I'm lazy, not doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
And but like outside home, I'm feeling less lazy, but I get reminded of being lazy when I get back home. Because when I go out or take walks, I can walk around.
Do you live with your parents?
Yeah, I live with my mother.
Got it. What's another plus side? So spontaneous at times. What else?
I care about the person.
Okay, what else?
I can listen and I don't judge the person. Like, whatever they do or don't, I don't judge them less for that. I have a lot of patience with people. I may not express my anger, but I'm willing to. I may suppress it at my anger at times, but I'm willing to talk with people at least if there's a conflict.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so one thing I'd recommend doing is making that actual list. Okay, because this is a big one. It's in different social interactions, but even beyond that too. Often we fuck ourselves over because we really don't like ourselves and we don't want to fuck other people over by being with us. It's you're going up, and I could see this yesterday. It's you're talking to different people and you just can't accept that they like you. It's they're smiling, they're enjoying your company, they're like, hey, and you're just they don't like me, and then you just leave, or you would just shut up, or you would just sabotage the interaction and just bounce out. And I can guarantee you a lot of the times, those people are confused. They're like, what the fuck's this guy, what? What's going on? If you want to start killing it, you better start believing that you are an amazing option and that you are the best option. You said this too, and I used to be like that, with friends. Say we're hanging out a group of friends here. If people would talk, I would always be very quiet, and I'd be kind of the last to express my opinion. Even a dumb example, what movie should we go see? I'd always be like, whatever the main guys want, I'll just like that. I would never be like, oh, let's go see this. Even when someone said it was the same movie, you're the main guy, you're like, oh, let's go see this. Even if I wanted to see it, I'm like, oh, okay. I wouldn't even say, yeah, that's what I thought too. I would just never put it out, because again, it's that's the identity you've taken on. It's I'm down here, and this is the only little thing that this person down here deserves. If I was up here, then I could do all this, And then what you're trying to do here is you still think you're down here, and then you're trying to compensate doing all this to pretend to be up here. But you'll never get to the cause, and it's why do you think you're down here in the first place? So one exercise that helps a lot is making that list. It's what are the benefits that someone would get being with me? Say someone was with you, say you were dating yourself, what would be the benefits you get out of that relationship? What would be the benefits someone would get out of being with you? And if you draw a blank or there's not much, that's another huge fucking warning sign. That's where you need to bring your attention. And for a lot of people, they have no idea. They know what they want out of the other person. It's man, in a partner, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. And that's really what I'm after. It's okay, what does that person get out of you? Where's the value exchange here? What, and just keep rereading it. Every time that happens, reread it and remind yourself. It's it takes effort to, one, acknowledge our successes, because we're just conditioned to focus on all the negative. You remember all your failures every time you fuck up, because there's a lot of charge around it, but never your successes. When you succeed, it's like, okay, good, on to the next thing. You fail, fucking fail, like there's a lot more charge. So remember all the failures, never the successes. So here it's like, notice I'm like, okay, why would you not want to be with you? You're like, oh, because this is this. Okay, why would you want to be with you? This, it requires a lot more effort. So just adding this habit of one, will challenge yourself to make that list, and then every once in a while just reread it. Of course, this is a temporary tool. You don't want to depend on rereading a list, but in the short term, it gets you out of that rut. Another thing you can do too, and this is a short-term tool, it's not something you want to keep doing, it's actually have a look around and look at all those other options. It's like, yeah, you're comparing yourself to other people, especially on superficial things, but like, look at all the other options, because when we're out and say you're talking to someone, you're like, man, say this girl, like she could have way better access to way cooler, better people than me. It's like, where are those way cooler, better people? It's like you look around, like, where are they really? It's like we overblow it out of proportion. Like everyone is like a fucking Prince Charming. It's like, fuck no. It's like there's not that many great options. Especially if you go to like a bar or club, it's like it's just a bunch of like drunk people. Like obnoxious drunk assholes for the most part. It's like those are the options. I mean, this is key too, and it's what I mentioned with this whole perfectionism. We think everyone else is perfect, but no. Be realistic and look around. You feel so guilty, like, oh man, I'm such a fuck up. Look around. Where are these perfect people? So just kind of taking that in at times to be like, oh shit, I'm not as badly off as I thought. That'll help. Temporary tool. You don't want to hang on to that, but it's like anything to kind of, it's like optimizing that paradigm, anything to get you out of that rut. Then also understand how, without like making the choice to like put yourself out there and kind of stand up for who you are, you're going to keep killing your self-esteem. Okay, so for example, say you have that identity where it's like you don't think your opinion matters and everyone else is talking. The more you keep doing that and let other people talk, the more you're just like killing that inner voice. It's like, let's say this, and you just keep going. It's like a downward spiral. There's no way out. This happened like 2 weeks ago in Copenhagen. Someone was talking to a girl, one of the guys was talking to a girl, and some drunk guy just walks up, shoves him out of the way, and he's like, blah, 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 to the girl. He didn't know the girl, he's just some drunk dick. But he's like spitting shit, and the girl's like, kind of pushes him off and then leaves. He didn't see the girl push him off and leave. He's just like, oh, okay, you have her. Okay, now, you could look at that and be like, okay, whatever, he was kind of scared. There was a dude who came in who was drunk. However, if you actually look at what happens beneath the surface, and I asked them this, I'm like, would you want this girl to be with that drunk dick? Yes or no? And he's like, no. It's like, where do you rate that drunk guy at the time, like on the poll? Pretty fucking low. So what does that mean? All scenarios, don't be like paranoid about this, but those little things affect where you see yourself. So these are all useful things you can do, and I highly recommend doing them. But of course, as we discussed many a times, to get to the cause, you really need to dive deep. Why do you feel unworthy? Where did that come from?
Like the idea was like if there was something I didn't want to do or like something I wanted to do, I wasn't asked. And I also didn't understand a lot of the family dynamics. There was a lot of drama.
Like what? Be more precise. Give us a couple examples. None of us were there.
Yeah, since as long as I can remember at family gatherings, and we still like used to gather for Christmas. The only thing I can first thing that pops on is like shouting, it's like screaming.